Herman Moore joining us here on the show on behalf of Quick Lane Tire and Auto. And he drops on by the DA show. Herman, how you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my man. As always, it's good to catch up and do what you do and get to pick your brain a little bit. And, you know, one thing is your former Lions team looked really good early in the season and has not looked good the last couple of weeks, including on Sunday, where they really got run out of the building in New Orleans. What do you think has been the difference for the Lions since they started out so strong this year?
Well, they started out pretty strong. They came out and they caught a lot of teams off guard. I think they had contribution by several players. The defense was actually playing very well. They were getting after quarterback. And, in fact, I think the defense played a lot better than most people anticipated because there were so many questions about the defensive line. The offensive line became more of a question mark over the last few games in their ability to be able to protect Stafford, which they've pumped a lot of money into, but the production that they need to get out of him hasn't been able to be there. And it's not solely on Stafford's shoulders, everything from the offensive line to the fact that they still haven't been able to find a good footing with the running game to be able to contribute and make opposing defenses really respect it. And then the loss of Kenny Galladay, I think, hurt them, and then also the lack of progress of getting Eric Ebron to really take that next step. So if you couple all that and have the Lions at 3-3, even though they've had the last two losses have been somewhat devastating, this team started out, I thought, very strong. But they now get a chance at the bye week to regroup and be able to come back and hopefully put a plan together that will get them back on track.
What do you think about Matthew Stafford? I think early in his career there was a lot of critics, and now recently I think people have started to kind of wake up to what a dynamic quarterback he can be. As you assess him, where do you see Stafford at this point in his career?
I see him as being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and a lot of people will probably question that and say, well, what has he really done? Where are the playoff wins? Where's his ability to take this team to the next level? I think too often we think it's one player that's going to be the be-all, end-all, but the other players have to take those same steps and have the same progress that you have that we've seen with Stafford. I've seen a much more mature quarterback, a player that has continued to show that he's tough and he has that winning attitude, but one that has really calmed down. Even the way he throws the ball, he has a lot more touch on his passes than what he's had in the past. I think his decision-making ability has been good, with the exception of this last game, where I think it was just players are going to have bad games. But for him, he's made some strides that you want to see. That I think as when you look at why the Lions paid him the money they paid him, is because they feel that regardless of who's out there and what other quarters that may become available later, they feel they have the right player to build an offense around. And I would have to agree, given what I see out there currently.
Former All-Pro wide receiver Herman Moore joins us here on the show, talking a little football with him. And so the Green Bay Packers, one of your old rivals, dealing with the devastating news that there's a broken collarbone and surgery for Aaron Rodgers. What do you think that Packers locker room and coaching staff is going through right now?
They're probably struggling a little bit to try and figure out who's going to replace Aaron Rodgers and be able to pick up that piece for him. It's not just finding a quarterback. It's more of how do you get everyone caught up to speed with that quarterback? How do you also not have the offense take a step back because you're now changing your signal caller? That's going to be the biggest challenge that they're going to be faced with, because it's very rare that we see a starting quarterback, especially someone of the caliber of an Aaron Rodgers, go down and you bring in and you plug and play another quarterback, regardless of who that is, even if they're a veteran guy or a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience. That's going to just pick up and now put a team that's sitting at 4-2 and keep them on pace. That's going to be a challenge that they're going to be faced with. I look more to the defense, which I feel has had its ups and downs. I don't think it's one of the best in the NFL. I think they're adequate, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of stress that's placed on that defense, and if they can't keep the opponent out of the end zone and keep them in check, this is going to make for a long upcoming next 5, 6, 8 weeks for the Green Bay Packers.
Let me ask you about two preseason Super Bowl favorites, the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 4-2. Seahawks are 3-2. and they've both been kind of up and down to begin this season. Out of the Steelers and Seahawks, which one do you feel more confident will be able to right the ship and figure it out consistently by the end of the season?
I would have to lean towards Pittsburgh. They both have that experience of playing at the high level. When you start talking about conference championships, the ability to go to the Super Bowl, even Super Bowl experience, both teams provide that. But with Seattle, there's still a lot of ways they lean on their defense. And right now, their defense is okay. I mean, they're keeping point totals low, but they're giving up a lot of rushing yards. Pittsburgh is a team that I think has a little bit more balance on the offense. Their defense is adequate enough to where they make them competitive. And they've had some tough, go as well. But right now, I think Pittsburgh would be the team that I feel a little bit more confident about. That if they get in trouble, they can right the ship a little bit quicker.
You were one of the best players of your era of going up and getting it and being obviously with the size that you had, the hands that you had, the body control you had, fade patterns, and, those types of jump ball opportunities. You were one of the best. How often or how did you practice that? Because now it's become a staple of the NFL, but then it was not nearly as popular. How did you guys utilize your talents in that way?
It was, for me, it was easy. It was one that the coaches saw as being a strength, and that was being that I had a high jump background, that it would be very few, if any, defensive backs that would be able to contest me for the high ball and the jump ball, whereas now teams have really started to realize that the defensive guys, typically you have a receiver playing receiver and a defensive back playing defensive back for a reason. It's because the receiver should be able to judge the football a little bit differently. You see the size of the receivers in the league right now having the ability to go up and have these great receptions. So it's really just playing the odds, and I think teams are willing to take a chance, whether it's for a pass interference or whether it's for giving their guy an opportunity to come down with the football. The chances are more in your favor if you will take the chance of doing that, even if there's double coverage, but the guy has the physical dominance and also the athletic ability to jump over the guys. I think Calvin Johnson was a great example of that. The Lions were never fearful of throwing him a deep pass, regardless of the number of players around, and I was fortunate enough to have the same confidence in my offensive coordinators and my quarterback to do that as well.
Herman Moore, one of the best wide receivers of his generation, joining us here on the show, and he played at University of Virginia in the ACC. The Quick Lane Bowl is going to feature a Big Ten and ACC team. That's coming up, obviously, later on in December. You are working with Quick Lane Tire and Auto, and this is pretty cool, the Ready to Serve program supporting military veterans, and they're doing a lot for them. And that's always an awesome service and an awesome cause. So what's going on with Quick Lane and you guys?
I've had an opportunity to work with Quick Lane Tire and Auto in the past for the Quick Lane Bowl, but just their support of our military vets and providing this Trading One uniform for another program and awarding 5 $10,000 scholarships to veterans to be used towards an automotive maintenance and repair certification. It provides them the ability to make a transition from one career to another. Many of us, not just former football players, but even like yourself, when you make a transition from one career to another, it can sometimes be challenging, and it's no different for our military vets when they come back from serving and supporting us and protecting us. So we are very proud with Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center to be able to provide that support that they need when they come back to make that life transition. So for those that are interested in nominating a veteran, they can visit QLTradingOne.com to nominate a veteran. And again, that's QLTradingOne.com with the one spelled out, ONE. And that they could submit those nominations by December 11th. That would be great. We're looking forward to having a lot of nominees come in for that. And then we'll make the announcement December 26th at Ford Field during the Quick Lane Bowl.
QLTradingOne.com. Go there and check it out. Herman Moore, 4-time Pro Bowler, former All-Pro with the Detroit Lions, joining us here on the show. Herman, it's always good to catch up and talk a little football with you, man. Thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
You got it.